I'm Tim Bradner with Capitol Views. Thanks for joining us. We're here today with Representative Chris Tuck of Anchorage. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Chris, you have had a long involvement in vocational education in different forms, and I wondered if you could talk a little bit about how you came to do that and why you're interested in it. What is your own background?
Sure. I'm an electrician by trade, going to the Alaska Electrical Apprenticeship School. And when I got out of that, I immediately became an instructor at the Alaska Electrical Apprenticeship School, and so training future generations on the trade. And then from there, I served on the Education Workforce Advisory Committee with the Municipality of Anchorage, and that was workforce development as well as just watching the school district budget. And prior to that, I served on the curriculum development team for K through 7, and K through 6, I'm sorry, K through 6, and that got me a little bit more exposure because I knew when my son was born that he's going to be part of that curriculum. So that's how I got into curriculum development. That's kind of how I got into workforce development. That's how I started doing educating on that. And then from there, I served on the Anchorage School District School Board as treasurer. And so VOCED, career and technical education has been very important. And while serving as treasurer, we were very fortunate that then Governor Palin had increased the base student allocation per student for the state of Alaska. And with that extra money that we were able to count on, we were able to open up the King Career Center, which is a career and technical education center in Anchorage, open it up for summer school. First time ever been done, because most of the time summer school is for remediation. And that was so successful, we doubled it the next year in a number of sessions, and then we tripled it the year after that.
Now, in this case, the King Career Center was open for career programs during the summer.
No, it was mostly in the winter. Okay. We weren't open up for the summertime, and that was the first time that we started doing it for summer, because a lot of students want to take these classes, but just don't have the opportunity because of their busy school schedules already. So by opening it up in the summertime, it gave them those opportunities to take the classes that they normally wouldn't be able to take in their home schools. And I had an attorney call me up and thank me for the work that I was doing on VOCED, because he said if it wasn't for the shop classes that he had in high school, he would have never taken the other courses or gone to school and finished and got his diploma and then went on to higher education and become an attorney. And he said although he doesn't work as in a career path as a mechanic, he does appreciate the skills that he developed because it saves his family so much money by doing things on his own.
Yeah, I remember when I was in school there were shop classes. There was wood shop, there was metal shop, and what's happened to all those things? Why don't we have those in our schools anymore?
Because when school budgets shrink, it is cheaper, if you will, to prepare students for higher education going on to college than it is for career and technical education, because you need specialized materials, specialized classrooms, and specialized instructors. And so, and a lot of those materials are consumable that you eat up. It's not just a textbook, you know, and you remember the shop classes we had in high schools, we have band saws and machinery and everything else, and you have to make sure that safety is addressed, and making sure it takes a lot of supervision because you don't want anybody to be getting hurt working around that machinery. So it takes a lot more attention, a lot more time, and a lot more resources to be able to deliver that. But it pays off in the long run, you know, with students being engaged and understanding why their education is relevant.
Are we going to see more resources go to VOCED, do you think? It seems to be a lot of interest in it.
And there should be, because when you look at the oil and mining industry, you look at the fishing industry, you look at the timber industry, all the industries that we have here in the state of Alaska, a lot of it's blue-collar, hands-on work, and it's really technical. And when we invest in our education system, if all we're doing is preparing students for college, unfortunately what I see happening is those students will leave the state of Alaska, pursue higher education elsewhere, and never return. And then when we need that skilled labor up on the North Slope or in Cook Inlet or whatever, we're pulling them from Oklahoma and Texas and Louisiana and bringing them up to Alaska. So we're not capitalizing on the investment that we're making. One of the best ways that we can do that is making sure Alaskans get trained for those jobs and starting in the high school, junior high and high school level.
Now, Chris, is there something in the BSA now that's designated for VOCTEC, or how does it work?
Well, we did have some money separated a few years ago, separated aside because it was all part of special education. But then your special needs students, because of all the demands that are required for them, consumed a lot of that. So a couple of years ago, I think it was 2011, maybe 2012, we separated career and technical education away from that, so we can have some dedicated funds so we can continue that going forward. However, I think more needs to be done. In rural Alaska, they still don't have the same opportunities that we have in like the Anchorage School District by having the King Career Center opened up. And we've seen now, since we've been kind of flat funding education over the last few years, you know, not given a cost of allowance index to it, that we've had to close down those summer programs. And I'd say that we need to do that in rural Alaska, where people could come in from different villages into a regional area and be able to have those same career technical education courses, even for summer camps, if you will, to keep them engaged.
Well, I think we're beginning to see that, a very successful one in Kotzebue. Actually, several places. Bethel has a very successful program. So that may be the wave of the future, at least for rural areas.
Yes, and you know, again, in rural Alaska, that's where a lot of hands-on work is what keeps those communities vibrant and going.
It's also where our future workforce is to a large degree, because those people are going to be residents here. You know, they're not going to leave the state.
Yeah, yes.
Well,
and there's a lot of good activity, a lot of mining opportunities, a lot of opportunities in their areas. So we need to make sure we have them trained for that.
That's right. Chris, thanks for being with us. Representative Chris Tuck of Anchorage. I'm Tim Gradner. Thank you for joining us at Capitol Views.